driver ended up running through the desert with really nowhere to go. He started to get really tired, thought he was going to give up, especially as he was running towards this black and white. When he got to this patrol car, the door was unlocked, the keys were in the ignition, and he just went running for it. He got right in, and this is what we've been seeing here. He may have had somebody up ahead here because he's just decided to pull off of 140th. Now again, off-roading through the desert here with more units trying to intercept him. And now it looks like he's stuck. Now it looks like he's stuck in a ditch, and they are going to, they're going to stop him here. Now he's back on foot. Officers with their guns drawn. CHP is going to bring this to an end finally. But what a wild and crazy pursuit up here in the desert.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Click the ABC7 logo to subscribe to our Eyewitness News YouTube channel.
Breaking news, a police pursuit has gone through Palmdale and Lancaster. The suspect is wanted for DUI and assault on a police officer, and that car was seen speeding more than 100 miles an hour.
Stu Mundell is overhead in Sky 2. Not sure if Stu can hear us, but Stu, go ahead if you can.
So we're up here in the Rosemont area, actually Kern County. This is a vehicle pursuit right now. Okay, who's in this car? That's the first question. We're not really sure. What brought us up here to the Antelope Valley was a vehicle driving recklessly earlier on. We heard a second pursuit going on, and this is a car. This is actually the second vehicle that these people were in. Originally, they were in an Optima, a Kia Optima, driving through the desert. They drove off through the desert onto a main road and carjacked this pickup truck by gunpoint. We saw a man and a woman get out of the first vehicle, get into this pickup truck, and then continue on the streets. He's been driving on the roads, off the roads, and again, this is the second vehicle was taken by force with a weapon. Now, who's chasing him? Well, California Highway Patrol has gotten involved, and also the Sheriff's Department up here also involved. Right now, I have a feeling we do have the map up so you guys can actually see the streets that we're on. Also the speeds. Now, this person is basically taking this truck. Earlier on, he was in a Kia driving through the desert, just basically trying to get away from officers. The original one, well, this is getting difficult for us up here because originally we came out here and the vehicle descriptions were about the same. They were talking about a car driving high rate of speeds, driving towards officers, actually making contact with a sheriff's vehicle in the Palmdale area. Was that the same suspects? We're not sure because they had somebody they were taking somebody into custody towards the Quartz Hills area. Right now, though, we do know for a fact a man and a woman inside this pickup truck. They did carjack this from a man that was basically just parked on the side of the road, probably watching the smoke trail of that Kia driving through the desert. I'm going to go a little bit wider just to give you an idea of where we are. It is very much out in the middle of nowhere, as they would say. Officers from the California Highway Patrol, they are behind this vehicle once again. Armed suspects inside that stolen vehicle that was taken in a carjacking. We have tape of that. We'll get that probably to the station as soon as possible. But again, a very dangerous pursuit up here in the Kern County area this afternoon.
That is certainly wild. We're looking at the tracker above, and you can see those speeds over 100 miles an hour. And for goodness sakes, if this driver is wanted for driving under the influence, this makes this even more dangerous. We have information that possibly made contact with several cars, several other cars of drivers. Not only the assault on an officer, which would be them making contact with a police vehicle, as Stu just alluded to, and then to watch him just drive through the desert with this woman. We did see the carjacking. We might be able to get that picture back up of a car that was stopped on the road. Two people jumping out of, there we go, right there, jumping out of that Optima with a gun drawn and just making this man get out of that pickup truck, which is a good thing he did. And then they just took off across the desert, and now they're back on Rosamond Boulevard, Jeff.
Yeah, Rosamond runs east-west, and then they're going to just continue. If they continue east, they're just heading out into the desert. 107 miles an hour, luckily only dangerous to the two people in the truck because there aren't any other cars that we can see on there. And the CHP, when Stu pulled out, is following safely behind.
Okay, let's get back up to Stu. Stu, can you hear us?
Well, Yes, and I'm so glad that you guys have all that information. I really mean that. I wasn't sure what we were sending earlier on. We are way out of our usual area. But again, this vehicle right now, it's just, we're not 100% sure that that was the same car from earlier on. And the only reason I say that was, even though we were just watching it drive through the desert, basically hitting tumbleweed and other things, it didn't look that damaged. And we clearly heard them say earlier on that it was involved in multiple accidents, hitting multiple vehicles on 10th Street West near Palmdale Boulevard. So we're not sure if they were the same vehicle, but we definitely know that this vehicle, armed, and that person that's riding with that driver right now, a female, appeared to be female at least from the distance, definitely not there by force. You saw that person basically getting out and going with very willingly. So whatever the situation is right now, they are running from officers. Apparently they are armed, which makes us even more dangerous when it comes to an end. Westbound is our basic direction. We are on Rosamond right now. I know we have that map up. Every now and then there are other vehicles out here. We have seen some other cars. Again, though, you just got to wonder, that poor guy that was sitting in that truck probably wondering why these people are driving through the desert, just the wrong place at the wrong time, getting carjacked this afternoon. He got out pretty willingly. I'm sure if somebody has a gun to you in the middle of nowhere, you're going to give up your vehicle instead of your life, and then they just took off. There was some off-roading at one time. I don't know if we were live yet, but they were actually driving into the Willow Springs racetrack area, and then made basically a U-turn and then kept on going. Right now, maybe not as adventurous as before, but still clearly as dangerous as these two suspects, armed suspects involved in at least one carjacking, are fleeing from officers on a pretty much, like you said, Jeff, basically a straight road that takes us way out into the desert. Speeds 107 miles an hour. Rosemont Boulevard is the street. Kern County is where we are. Officers from the California Highway Patrol, when this comes to an end, there's only two of them right there. And I know Jeff is very keen to law enforcement techniques, and they only have two officers right there. So when this comes to an end, it's going to be very dangerous for those officers. Again, an armed suspect being pursued this afternoon in the desert.
Hopefully they'll be joined by somebody in Kern County that can supplement those two officers. But you know, Stu, as you were saying,
up to an end.
Hard end. Yeah, I was going to say that straightaway is about to stop being straight, and that's exactly where he is. Pat, I think he's on 170th Street.
It looks like it from the map I'm trying to read. Of course, you're much better at reading maps than I am.
172nd.
We know with my directions. But what was that again, Stu?
172.
172?
172nd. 172nd Street. This road basically goes up into where the windmills are, up in the area. Something else, though, that is interesting, just to make it more convoluted, because I say that almost jokingly, because if this was two pursuits, it's very unusual. But one of the vehicles, the license plate came back as a stolen license plate, stolen or missing, quote unquote, and from the Bakersfield area. Definitely the movement for this vehicle has been roughly to the north. We are still continuing north right now. Again, extremely high speeds. Doesn't seem like there's much out here. I'm looking out the front of the helicopter right now, just trying to get an idea where this road is going to take us. We are going up into the windmills up here in this area. And the road, well, the pavement's going to end unless he turns, and he is going to stay on the pavement. But again, he's been off the pavement many times, and with a Kia, for gosh sakes, and nothing against Kia. And now at least he has a four-wheel drive. It appears to be four-wheel drive, marked up as a four-wheel drive pickup truck. Looks like a hard turn. Whoa! Straight into the dirt. Hard. Wow. Whoa! Now that's a heck of a stop. I'd be surprised if that vehicle is going to be able to do anything. Airbag deployed, at least on the passenger side. A lot of smoke right there. Driver's side door open, and it does appear the driver is out right now. Now you got to remember, this guy is armed, and again, kind of wandering over, checking on his partner right there. A little bit of a hug, and but this is definitely coming to an end very, very quickly. There's law enforcement. They're on the roadway. They did get some distance, but there is no place for these two to go. And again, though, what a finale there. That pickup truck, that poor guy that gave up his truck for this. Right now, hands are up. Their demeanor kind of changing up there, but they're not stopping, which just makes this more and more bizarre.
He's running away from her.
More bizarre that you've got two people. Well, yeah, he's taken off, but he's not running very fast, and he's not going to get very far at all because we're following him, and Stu's overhead, Chopper's overhead. Very strange. I was trying to ascertain if there were any rest stops in the area, any eateries that there would possibly be more people stopped at. Don't see that.
You know,
Go ahead.
Thank goodness there isn't. You know, we just got one person running around out here in the desert. You know, these get more and more unusual as the days go by. This one definitely going to be in the books for sure. But this guy just basically running and making, it looks like he's making his way back to the truck.
Yeah.
He's going in circles. It's amazing that the officers, and I'm not saying this in any kind of bad way, the officers didn't see him circle back, giving up that truck, making his way, looks like, back towards the roadway, actually running towards the officers. I am praying that they did not leave their keys in the vehicle, because this might just be continuing on here. But these the California Highway Patrol, smart cookies in general, and seeing what's going to happen here.
Oh,
no.
This did not happen.
No.
Suspect has now commandeered a CHP car. Those CHP officers must have tried to render aid to the woman who was on her hands and knees, both leaving their car.
And there's another officer that's just clueless. He doesn't even know.
He doesn't know.
Oh, this is...
Do they know?
Wait a minute. Was that white vehicle a law
That was a
enforcement
CHP vehicle. Definitely CHP. It was another CHP for backup. He probably did not see this suspect getting in the vehicle. The only thing I can hope right now is that I know my pilot, Captain Killian, is going to be making some calls to some other aircraft that are not in the area, but maybe they can relay this. And hopefully there's at least some law enforcement watching right now that can get a hold of whatever division. I'm not sure if this is Newhall way out here, but whoever this California Highway Patrol division is, get some information to them to get them to know that their vehicle has been commandeered. Hard on the brakes, don't know why, because it's a turnaround. He's got to go back to where he came from. This is going to be. This is going to be something. I've got to be very careful with my camera work because I'd like to keep my job. Because at the end here, he's going to have to drive by where he was unless he tries to take a dirt road, which apparently he is trying to do. That at least is going to not have a confrontation. This might be a driveway. That's the reason why I'm going a little bit wider. Nope, it's just another dirt road that takes us to other dirt roads out here in the desert. But definitely, this is just wow.
Stu, obviously,
all I gotta say is wow.
Stu, obviously, a couple of things here. One, there is a weapon in that car. It's normally a shotgun, but it's locked. It's locked to the dashboard, so he can't get that. But he does have the advantage of being able to listen on the radio. And that's going to give him an edge as well. Now, they can change their tactical frequency.
They're going to be talking to him on the radio, too, and telling him, buddy, you better pull over because we have eyes on you. So if you have any semblance of sanity left, whether you're drunk or not, you need to get this over with and pull over, or it's really going to end badly. This is unbelievable.
And that was my biggest fear. That was my biggest fear, that he was going to make a U-turn and go back to where those officers were, and there was going to be some sort of confrontation. If this was the vehicle they were using earlier on, or the driver of the vehicle that started all this, that got the helicopter out here this afternoon, this person obviously making runs at officers earlier on, made contact with a sheriff's vehicle earlier on. So definitely there is a sense of whatever it is. They're asking for the map again, so we're bringing the map back up. And so basically right now we're following a stolen California Highway Patrol vehicle that's not being driven very well out here in the desert. This is Aqueduct and 170-something, way out in the desert. I'm sure my pilot Killian, who's looking out the window, keeping an eye on this, would let us know if other law enforcement would be getting close by. At this time, though, we're trying to relay information. Hopefully somebody is watching from the California Highway Patrol, and this might just come to an end with this suspect crashing that officer's vehicle or getting it stuck. Yeah, which, and again, What
you see any officers close by, Stu? You see any officer vehicles close by? None.
No, we don't.
And you wonder where the other officer is, because there were two units, two black and whites, and both officers got out of their black and whites because they were both unattended. He steals one. Where are those officers? And did they not get in the black and white that was left over?
Remember, we saw a white car, and Stu said that was a law enforcement vehicle.
I drove
by. That was California Highway Patrol.
Yeah, that was
California Highway Patrol. Yeah, and he was actually going to render aid to the 2 officers that were taking that one suspect into custody. Driving a little bit slower now, and hopefully, and again, I don't even know if I want to say hopefully. I would hope he'd get that cruiser stuck, and law enforcement, I'm sure there's some sort of tracking device on that vehicle, and they have an idea where the car is right now. But getting law enforcement to this very remote location is going to be extremely difficult. We're continuing on. We do have the map tracker up, and maybe that is because our assignment desk is working with other law enforcement, trying to get them at least a location where this cruiser is right now.
Yep, we've got Aqueduct Road, 152nd Street in West Tehachapi.
We are in Tehachapi. I can't believe that, but we are here. This dirt road does bring us to some residents. I don't know if they're inhabited or not. There are buildings that are coming up into the area. Don't know. Again, originally the plates were from Bakersfield. So maybe this person is thinking that they're going to be able to get back to Bakersfield. Don't know if that's going to be the case. Right now, though, we're just following a stolen California Highway Patrol vehicle. The suspect in that car did a carjacking, and apparently also was involved in some other pursuit with the Sheriff's Department in Palmdale. Very bizarre indeed, but right now just following this cruiser, driving at least normal speeds on a dirt road out here in the Tehachapi area this afternoon.
Well, you know what? You mentioned some residents, that homes that could be in the area. Just hopefully those people are aware of this, either watching on television or listening maybe to a scanner themselves, and know that this is going on and this guy is out here in a police car. Could possibly be riding up on them, trying to hide.
And the best thing
it's very rural.
Right, and that's the best thing we have going for us now. The best thing that law enforcement has going is that this man is not going to do any harm to anybody else other than himself. He is out in the middle of nowhere, and yes, there are homes out there, but they're so spaced out that he's pretty much, and I didn't see, Stu, correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't see a weapon in his hand when he was running around. He opened the door, didn't seem to have one.
Never know, he could have one in his pocket.
At one point when he was running.
He could have had one stuck in his backpack too, well, in his pants pocket.
Yeah, he was reaching towards the back of his pants at one point. Coming to a stop right there. Not sure. You know what? Maybe there is some sort of GPS or some kind of map system in there for them. But good news. Good news. We do know that the sheriff's helicopter, I'm not sure if it's going to be Sheriff 21. It is 21, one of my favorites, going to be joining us here shortly. But his ability to bring this to an end, we've seen some cowboy stuff this afternoon. We might see some more cowboy stuff. But I'll let you know that Sheriff 21 is going to be joining us here in just a few moments. And perhaps they'll be able to at least track or follow or maybe do something to bring this to an end. Again, though, dirt roads out here. We're in the Tehachapi area, York Street, and this cruiser still cruising on these dirt roads. The suspect behind the wheel of a law enforcement vehicle.
We are attempting to contact California Highway Patrol to see if they can talk to us on the air. Obviously, by now they do know what's going on. The question is how they're going to stop it.
We're being told that this all started with a traffic stop, believe it or not. Not sure what the traffic stop was for. We've been talking about driving under the influence, and if this guy was driving anyway the way he is now, that would certainly be understandable for them to try to pull him over. He did have a woman with him, and as we've been watching this, those two carjacked a pickup truck, ended up riding through the desert, then took the police vehicle because the police cruisers pulled up to assist the woman who...
Oh, that's it.
Okay, what happens to...
No, that was earlier.
All right, that was earlier. Who jumped out of the vehicle. We saw another law enforcement vehicle drive by.
It's going to get stuck.
Yeah,
but they didn't know
the audio on
that he was that he had hijacked this police cruiser. So now he's just riding around. But they do know where he is, obviously, and I suspect that they're trying to...
Is Sheriff 21 over us?
Okay, he's stopped now, Stu. That's not the first time we've seen him do that, though.
And again, he's probably just kind of trying to figure out where he is. He's got a fork in the road there.
Yeah, good point.
I'm not going to give him any help, but it looks like whatever he does, he's going to wind up in a riverbed. So these roads definitely not traversed by vehicles too often, meaning that these are probably more for dirt bikes and/or vehicles that make access to do repairs out here. The car is stopped. The helicopter is getting closer. They're actually working their way to our location to get to see where this vehicle is.
Stu?
I can tell you though, I would, yes.
I'm just going to interrupt you because on your right side of the screen, everybody, that's where the man ran through the desert, and you saw him open the door to that police black and white, that CHP unit, and that's how he commandeered that unit. No officers by those cars, because as Pat said, they got out of their cars because the female who was involved in the stop when the airbag went off, she seemed to be injured. She got down on her hands and knees.
And he ran off.
And he ran from her.
And they went to assist her, and then he took
Takes their car.
advantage. It's amazing, you know, for somebody to be supposedly DUI, how he managed to run in a circle, track back, and get in that police vehicle and drive
I
off.
bet you all of this will sober you up real quick.
Now, if he's trying to figure out where to go, Stu, there is nowhere to go, is there?
And there's no one behind him.
No.
You know, I don't think I'm going to lose him. Let me give you an idea where we are. There you go. That is the wide shot right there. It looks like he's working his way back over towards another main road, or another dirt road that he probably was on earlier on. But driving through the desert like that, and this is the thing, those police cruisers, very well maintained, awesome vehicles, strong and built for this type of abuse. Sadly, though, in this case, I'd like to see that vehicle stall, get stuck, or something, so that this suspect will be taken into custody. You just don't want to see that vehicle used in any type of accident at all, even though it is a suspect behind the wheel. That officer, I mean, you know, hopefully whatever his penance will be minor, because basically he was working to take people into custody and render aid when he lost that vehicle. Right now, though, it's continuing to drive around, a little hard on the gas there. So he's still a little aggressive, but definitely lost out here this afternoon. And there's one of those residents that we've been talking about. But again, I say residents, I should just say outbuilding.
Yeah.
And just making his way into another area.
Well,
lots of places he could hide. Lots of places he could hide if he abandons that vehicle. But right now, still just kind of driving around out here. And I know the sheriff's helicopter, Mike, the sheriff's helicopter. Oh, he is here nearby, and we're trying to guide him in right now. But he's got to see that smoke trail or the dust trail from that cruiser driving through the desert.
And let's go back to how that when they stole or carjacked the pickup truck, how it stopped in the first place. I don't know what he did, but he just ran it into the dirt, and it couldn't go any further.
Yeah, it kind of hit a berm.
And then he jumped out. So
Right.
I'm almost hoping that this happens with this police cruiser as well as it can be driven. At least the car would be stopped and they could follow him, or Stu, you certainly would, in Sky 2.
This is a point where you wish that these CHP units had kill switches or the ability to remotely kill them, but they don't plan for for officers to lose their vehicles.
Yeah. Sadly, that part is true. And again, I'm really hoping that officer doesn't get reprimanded too harshly in this case. Right now, though, that cruiser, you got to wonder what he's doing. They might be actually talking to him, and maybe he's talking back to them, and that's the reason why there's this stop and go action. There you go.
Right there.
There you go. And this is what
But that's a solo officer with no backup.
Solo officer by himself with no backup, and there's another vehicle right there. So they are getting into place right now. And with this type of activity, they will get. I'm sure they're going to get a little aggressive trying to bring this to a stop.
Yeah.
Stolen police cruiser. They might pit him in. There is no reason not to pit that vehicle out here, maybe even at higher speeds. But
That's
again,
right, 'cause they
dirt
don't have
roads out here, and
don't have to worry about
now
anybody else out
definitely
there.
in pursuit.
They don't have to worry about any
that's
other
true.
vehicles on the road. And, if you wanted to take this even further,
There's
you
the
could.
There he is.
There's a chopper.
The only concern,
There's the
obviously,
police
is,
helicopter.
Stu, is that if he does have a handgun, when you do the pit, you spin that guy 180 degrees, and he faces directly at you. And they tend to not want to pit if they believe he's armed. But hopefully that's not the case.
Yeah, hopefully that's not the case. And I just see some fencing right there, and I just don't want anybody else to get involved. Looks like he's making a turn, but he's staying away from that residence. Continuing on, again, the speed's really not that fast. Dirt roads out here, it's probably very bumpy, even though it looks like it's not. More officers joining the chase right now.
Yeah, they're going to pin him in.
They're going to pin this guy in and bring this thing to an end. Either that or he's going to get stuck. Looks like that road right there at least kind of maintained. Looks like it's been plowed recently. So made his way back onto that road right there. That's going to be Aqueduct. And now still working his way out here on these dirt roads. But the officers, they're starting to close in. Another one actually getting out of his way.
Yeah.
So
he's going
there
pretty
might
fast.
be some more information. There might be some more information here than we are all privy to.
Job in terms of watching him and getting out of the way, and you know they've got their plan.
Well, and Pat,
the fact that they, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, really, what's the rush at this point? He's not endangering anybody else. Why not wait until you have enough backup that you can do this properly? As long as he doesn't get into a populated area where he puts somebody else in danger, they might as well just
stuck.
Yeah, or get stuck. They might as well marshal their forces and make sure that they have enough men and women to do the job.
And if I may be so bold, I mean, he's already made some boneheaded moves.
Oh,
Otherwise, he wouldn't be out there. So
Yes.
he's going to do it again, and hopefully it's that kind of move that puts them in the position to take this guy into custody.
Yeah.
Because as you say, this is a clear picture, Stu, and of course, nightfall will be coming in about an hour or so, but really you see a lot of bushes, besides those outhouses that we saw.
You bring up a good point, Pat. Nightfall out there is pitch black.
Look how fast he's going now, Stu.
He's going about. He was up. I was just about to bring the map back up because he was pushing 80 miles an hour here on that dirt road, and in any kind of swerving, you don't. No matter how good of a vehicle that is, 80 miles an hour on a dirt road, you start getting a little swervy, it's going to end badly, and that's maybe that's going to be the best outcome, and hopefully he gets stuck, and then law enforcement just can surround him, and maybe this guy will just go into custody. But right now, I can tell you we're going about 60 miles an hour out here on this dirt road, 140th, and it looks, just kind of looking out the window, it looks as though we're going back south again. So we're heading back towards, away from Tehachapi, let's just say it like that. So right now, he's still moving along, good clip, just touching into 70 miles an hour. Officers know where he is. That's a big plus. Roads are getting better. So that means speeds might increase as well. So we're going to definitely keep an eye on this as he's making his way back onto a paved road out there. And California Highway Patrol, they are on this. But how they're going to bring this thing to an end right now, that's a big question, isn't it?
Well, you know what? And really, it would be better, obviously, if he stayed out there in the desert,
it is,
as opposed to getting on paved roads and possibly heading back to a town, getting on a freeway. I certainly hope that doesn't happen.
And really, at this point, the only thing working against the CHP is nightfall. And that's coming up soon.
It's fast approaching.
And out there, as I said, there's just no ambient lighting. So it's going to be difficult for them at that point. Obviously, they'll probably bring more than one air unit out to light that up.
Well, they'll light them up.
Yeah. Yeah, the sheriff's unit's out there now.
And even if he doesn't get out the vehicle, then he's just going to be driving around in circles in the desert, and they're certainly going to have light on him.
Well, I got to tell you, I was blessed to be inside one of those newer vehicles, and there's a lot of tech inside that car. I got to tell you that. There's actually voice commands and a bunch of stuff, and I really kind of wonder if they wish if they did, they probably would have used it already, a way to disable that vehicle. Where it is, I'm sure they know. That they definitely know. Another officer at this intersection. Maybe they put out some spike strips. Maybe. Yeah, he's a little late tossing them out there. So he's just going to drive off into the dirt. back to that four-wheel and stuff. And every time he does that, I'm thinking this is where he's going to get that thing stuck. But he's been lucky every time. A little bit of a dip right there, and that's it. That's it right there. And there you go, officers. Look at that. Look at that. Right out of the car.
You're done.
And onto the ground. That's
You're
it.
done.
Fastest surrender I've ever seen.
Boneheaded move.
Yes.
he couldn't.
In the culvert.
I don't think that officer had time to even give him the command.
Yeah, he clearly has been in that position before. So out of the car, on the ground, spread eagle. One officer, I'm sure they're going to have to wait at least for another officer to make their way over there. There they are. And, of course, this is an armed suspect, so they're going to be very careful about taking him into custody. But, you know, it might not have been that spectacular ending that some people at home, and God bless them all for wanting to see it, but definitely the ending we wanted to see. This guy going into custody, the vehicle just disabled, not wrecked, and definitely nobody else injured in this wild pursuit up here in the Antelope Valley.
Boy, what would be sweet justice if that officer in the white car was the same officer that drove by him in the first place?
Yeah, exactly.
That would be.
All right.
We haven't had a chance here to tell you. You're watching CBS 2 News at 6 p.m. We've been following this pursuit from our 5 o'clock news across the top of the hour. And Pat, this has been one for the records.
That's for sure. You know, in all of this, I'm sure that the woman who jumped out of the vehicle first, or who ran with him and actually stopped and they apprehended, she must be in one of those cruisers there. We haven't seen since that happened about a half hour ago.
Well, and he and the driver, the suspect, abandoned her in the desert, so he's not going to get any help from her.
No,
not when it comes.
I'm sure she's in the vehicle giving them some more information about how this happened and what her relationship is with this guy and why she would actually be involved with carjacking a car and helping him.
And whether she did get out when they carjacked that truck.
Yeah, she jumped out.
And so there was a little complicity there.
However, guys, I mean, we've seen that before, where a person against their will. Don't know that for sure, but it certainly looked that way when they both jumped out of the vehicle. But all right, Stu Mandel, that's another one. And as you said, for the record books, it looks like this guy he's cuffed. They're getting him off the ground.
Yeah, he's in custody. Everything is code 4, as they say, and it is out in the middle of nowhere. So they'll have they're going to have to bring a tow truck in, likely, to get that CHP unit out of the culvert.
Yeah, and at least get it cleaned up.